Good day, guys. Praying all is well. Excuse me. I was just thinking, we got people like Joy Reid that just got fired from MSNBC. We got people like the Congresswoman out of Dallas, Miss Crockett, Jasmine Crockett. We got, I think she's either an AG or an AD, an attorney general, or I'm sorry, a DA, district attorney, Letitia James. I'm going to start with Miss James. Miss James ran for her position in New York, and she literally ran her campaign on getting Trump, on making sure she was going to indict what was then the former president, I believe, and the prosecution of Trump. That's what she ran on. There's tape after tape after tape after tape. If you vote me in, I'm gonna go after him. I'm gonna be on his mind all the time. I'm gonna constantly have him in court. That's what she ran on. Was it surprising to me that she won? The answer is no. We're talking about New York City here. So, and she stuck to her word, yo. She went, got him indicted, then went and got him prosecuted. Now, all that is going to be overturned by the time it's all said and done. It's going to look like it never happened. And now, they're looking at Letitia James. And she was the topic of conversation, or was brought up in conversation in the Congress. They're having hearings on stopping lawfare, which is what Miss James did. Instead of warfare, it was lawfare against the president, Trump. So now, I forgot the man's name. I didn't get his name. He was showing the tapes of Miss James on the campaign trail. So, doesn't look good. Cause, think about it. Miss James is not a politician per se. She might be aspiring to be a politician. That wasn't her position. She's involved in the law system, right? Miss Justice is supposedly what? Blind, correct? But Miss James came in with her eye on Trump from the beginning, right? In America, we're supposed to find the crime, then look for the person that committed the crime. We're not supposed to find a person and look for a crime. That's not how it works, and that's what they do. That's not how it works. So she's in trouble. I knew it back then. When she was doing all that on the campaign trail, I was like, that ain't good for you. When she went and she indicted, I was upset. Because I was like, why are you doing this? This is bad for the country. Because it was the first time it ever been done throughout all our history. And then they did it on some charges that were bogus, And that's why it's not going to stand up to scrutiny at the end of the day. it's gonna fall flat. It's gonna crumble. Okay. Miss Crockett, the congresswoman out of Dallas, always on that giving uh, history class over and over in Congress about this, about the civil rights and everything that we experience as a people. And she just says it over and over. The white and the black thing, that's all she does. That only gets you so far. And she's borderline there. She ain't quite there yet, but she's borderline. Where she's gonna get the label of being a racist. She ain't far. The smell is there. Like in the Fannie Willis ordeal, which I'm not gonna bring her up, but she falls in this category. There's an odor of mendacity in the air. Anyway, so with this going on, it's kind of, excuse me. So yeah, with Miss Crockett, sorry about that. My sister was gonna ask me for the charger. So with Jasmine Crockett, yeah, she's borderline there. And that's not gonna get you far. That's not gonna get you far at all. Because that's getting real old. And now, the one I really want to speak about, Joy Reid. Ultimately, what are we? The news comes so fast. A few days depart from when they fired her, and the news dropped and whatnot. And when you think back at it, and her run on that channel, obviously, Miss Reid does feel the way she feels. I believe Miss Reid is the racist that she comes off to be. Oh, by the way, I want to apologize. The other day, I either wrote or said something about Miss Reid, and I called her out her name, and that was disrespectful. And I apologize. It was wrong of me. Yeah, but Miss Reid, she let her feelings be known. Did the network have to give her the platform? No, they did not. But they did. And she went and she spewed her opinions over and over for, 5 years? While many of us stood amazed, like, wow, they're letting her get away with this. Because everybody knew if it was somebody white talking about black people like that, yeah, ain't happening. But it did, and they let her do that. And even with her, with the numbers, the ratings that she had, spiraling downward, downward, and downward, she still knew that even with that, she still every night was coming out on TV. There were people that she would talk to on a daily basis that were connected and all that, so she had access and all of that. But her numbers were not good. Like I said, there were many that outdid her. that they just have they have a podcast, and it ain't even one of the major ones that it's not like a Joe Rogan or anything like that. I'm talking about the smaller ones than that. All for what? Ultimately, what Joy Reid became is what known in certain circles as a crash dummy. Yeah. They used Joy Reid to feed or keep that small fan base of the victimhood, the keeping us divided, separated, focusing on more on what's different about us than the same. They take one incident and they'll play it over and over and over and over. By the time the year is up, you will swear 1 million black folks done got killed. And that this issue is just humongous. I agree. One incident is one too many. But it wasn't the way that Joy Reid and the rest of them. Rachel Maddow, same thing. She spoke the same thing. It's just Miss Reid was different. She had the card. She had the pass to talk about white ladies crying, white lady tears, and all that. Then when they asked her, they kicked her out. All that came back on her like an avalanche. White folks all over the place laughing, bringing it back to her memory. Remember those white tears? Saying things like, we're enjoying yours. Flat out, Megyn Kelly said, good for you. And straight called her a racist and whatnot. And Don Lemonade over there, talk about F you. That's why you say when you've lost the debate. When you have no more fight in you, you just resort to F you and walk away. And Miss Reid, what saddest most about Miss Reid is this. There's gonna come a time, it's not way off in the distance somewhere, where you won't be hearing her name as often. Then it's just not at all. And she will still, I pray, be alive, probably have a podcast, still show up in people's show every once in a while. But basically be forgotten about. And in living life, every time she gets spotted, that somebody notices her. Or she just goes to places, events, invites. She knows, and everybody knows, that when they look at Miss Reid, somewhere in their mind, they know this lady has been labeled a racist. They know it. And they know why. To what extent of a racist? Was it all a big act? Rachel Maddow is white. I've always been like, if you're racist, you're racist. There's no such thing as having one black friend and not being a racist. I don't know. I guess I must have been wrong if I really think she is a racist, correct? I gotta figure that one out. But I do know one thing. she's going to carry that label, a battle scar that ain't coming off anytime soon. When she was making the money and she was in the midst of it, she heard all of that in the background. Joy's a razor, Joy's a razor, Joy's a razor. She heard it. She turned on the TV and heard Megan Kelly call her a racist before Joy Reid got fired. She's heard others on podcasts and on TV, but she was still getting paid, and she was in the mix. And she had a microphone, not a megaphone, a microphone to come back, stand up for herself, and all that. But now, not so much. My only question to Ms. Reid, in about 3 years from now, would be, was it worth it? Was it? The only thing, not the only thing, one of the things that I could never understand about people and not liking another person because of their color or whatever, I think, how could you discard and discount a whole other race? How? Why would you? You don't know from where your blessings may come from. I never understood that, especially not from a Christian. I've heard, and it was so cringe. Not that I know what cringe is, but it wasn't out back then. I could never sit underneath a white pastor. I'm like, is that really your choice, or does God lead you to a pastor, or how does this work? Like how? Do you just want to sit in an all-black church, or do you just want to sit in an all-white church? Both don't make no sense. Both. I couldn't do it, and thank God put me in a place that I didn't have to. I was in a church that I was told, I was in a church. I was part of a church, and I would like to think myself still to be. Victory, I think they had a name change. Anyway, our church was number one in the U.S., I believe, as far as size and different countries being represented in that church. I was there when we celebrated like 100 and I don't remember what was the count. I don't know if it was 175 or something like that. And they had all the flags and came down. So when you would sit down, you would look, you see somebody dressed with the African garb. You would look, you would see somebody dressed like the Shaolin Master. And so. Sorry, my sister, I gave it to her. Sorry about that. Yeah. So there was people from just everywhere. And that's what it's going to be like in heaven, by the way. That's what it's going to be like in heaven. You know what? I'm going to talk here for a minute. Racism. I didn't know what racism was truly to when I moved to Miami in 1989. No. Being born and raised in the streets of Williamsburg. And the Brooklyn section. The Williamsburg section of Brooklyn, excuse me. I didn't know what racism was. I'm Puerto Rican. In my family, There's people my color, and then there's darker folks. I explained that in this other video that I made. So we didn't grow up with that. The first time that it dawned on me was that incident with the Italians and the blacks. The Howard Beach incident, I believe. A young black man got chased down and beat down by a highway, I think. He jumped in the highway, got hit. I know that it went crazy. And that, that was shocking to me. I was like, wow, that happened. Anyway, was that 86? Might have been 1986. Anyway, I moved to Miami. In Miami, as we know, that the Cubans are everywhere. Everywhere. They were back then, at least. So we started hanging out with Cubans. And one day, we're hanging out with this Cuban dude. Can't remember his name. He was a light-skinned Cuban. And he said something about another Cuban dude that I liked. He just happened to be a black Cuban. Which, by the way, most Cubans are dark-skinned. There are many that look straight like Africans. I know, I hung out with them. I know I brought dope off of them. They look straight like African Americans, straight up. Don't speak one lick of English. Been locked up with them. Anyway. And I was like, why would you say something like that about that dude? And, I mean, I didn't say it, but I thought it, because I was the youngest one in the bunch. I got to Miami, I was 19. Okay? Back home, when I was growing up in my teens, I hung out with people. Like I was 15, my sister, she's like a year and a half older than me. Then 15, I've hung out with people, that was 17, 18, like that. So they were above me in age. And I was always like that. But when I got to Miami, the age, I think the difference just skyrocketed. Now, I was 19. The one that was closest to me, above me, no one below me, only above me, were my two brothers. One of them got me by almost 9 years, and the other one like by 7.5. After that, they were doubling my age. So I was 19. Marco might have been the youngest one of them that we met there, and he was like 42. So I just hung out with the older folks. Anyway, so once we walked away, I asked my brothers, why did he say that about old boy? And they turned me on. They say, yeah, it's a white Cuban, a black Cuban, and they have this thing. And I learned it to be true. I was like, these white Cubans really don't like those black Cubans. And I hung out with everybody. Shocked me. I was like, wow, that is crazy. That is crazy. So I could never think like that. When I see somebody for the first time, all I see is a human being before me. That's all I could see before me. It's just a human being. That's why I've gone into any group of people and behaved the same. Like I said before, the mother of my daughter is Puerto Rican. The mother of my son, she's a gringa. And my wife, kind of sort of still my wife, for a whole bunch of years, African American. In between those, Dominicana, Mexicana. I've been with a bunch of different ones. And anyway, yeah. So I could never see that race thing. It just never was in me. People describe the view of a racist person, or, yeah, a racist person different ways, acts and whatnot. You know, if you do this or if you say this, you know. I've always said this: racism to me is that I would do for someone because of race, something for that I wouldn't do for somebody else, or that I would do to somebody, right? And not do to somebody else because of a different race, which means I treat them the same. I treat everybody the same. I give them the same respect that they deserve, that I deserve, the empathy that I have in my heart is toward all men. And that's how I've tried my best. So when I see people like Miss Crockett, I see people like Letitia James. Well, not Letitia James, like I said. She's not. She just got that thing with Trump. I said, a Christ, again, more of the Christ thing, because you didn't have to do that, Miss James. You had a good career ahead of you. Your party allowed you to crash out like that. Mr. Soros, the one that gave all that money toward your campaign, the funding behind it, wanted you to do exactly what you did. Fannie Willis, the exact same thing George Soros funded. His plan was to destroy us from within. Look it up, George Soros. Now, so I could never understand why Joy Reid, why she had to go out like that, why they let her go out like that. And now the rest of her life, like I said, she's gonna have that stench about her, that odor of mendacity or racist. Real quick, I was to be precise, in Georgia by the airport. I was staying at a hotel with a company I drove for. They got me a room. I think there was something wrong with my truck and it needed to be fixed, and it was going to be quick. Now think about it. I got my house in Georgia, so that tells you everything. But anyway, they got me a hotel room. Been wrong. I was in orientation for a company. I had already worked for the company. I was coming back. They got me a hotel room in Georgia. I come down, and I have stayed in that hotel before. Well, let's just say this. The customer service was no longer up to par. I come down in the morning. They have it set up because they have a contract with this hotel where there's a van that picks you up and takes you to the terminal. I get down there like a half an hour before. I drink coffee from downstairs and all that. I go upstairs, come back down. I ask the front desk, hey, has the van been here? No. I'm supposed to be there at 8 o'clock. 5 minutes to 8, Ain't nobody in the front desk. I called the terminal. Hey, I'm waiting on old boy. But I knew people there because I had worked there before. They said, hey, it's all good. Just, okay. Old boy pulls up in the van, right? And when he did, at that moment, I wasn't there. But it was like I was gone and I came right back and I was like, hey, where you supposed? And old boy was like, he said he had already been there. I said, sir, I've been here since 7. I think I got down there about 7:25. Said, I've been down here. I talked to the people in the front desk, right? He's on one side of, we're in the back of the van, toward the back. He's on one side of the van, I'm on the other. And I tell him this, and I turn around, and he says something, and out of nowhere, he said, did you call me boy? And he said it, and my head just snapped him. I said, what did you say? He said, did you call me boy? I said, hey, dude. I mean, I got serious as all get out right then and there. Straight up did. I said, yo, dude. I said, don't do that. I said, don't do that, dude. I said, don't do that. I said nothing of that sort. I said, don't do that, man. I said, I didn't say anything like that, my man. And he looked at me and he said, I'm sorry, dude. He said, my bad. Because he could tell that I was like, yo, dude, don't go there with me. You know, because I know that that accusation is serious. You know what I mean? It's not that, you know, I mean, he was a pretty big dude, but that wasn't even the point to me. I didn't even see that. I was like, yo, dude, don't you say those words, dude. Because that's a serious thing. And, dude, I took it like that. So I checked it right there. I said, yo, dude, don't say that. I said, well, the first thing I said was, don't do that. I said, yo, dude, don't do that. Don't. You know? I was like, nah. Yeah. So, anyway, guys, it's been the longest video I probably ever made. And God bless, guys. Be safe out there and take care of yourself.